How come Richard gets cans and we don't?
Because he has to listen to us.
Yeah, why?
Well, he could.
He wouldn't be able to hear us otherwise.
That's right.
What would you do with the information of listening to yourself?
Don't you understand how the microphones work? Richard, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, Richard? That was your finest moment of radio.
That was a good moment.
I don't recall it. What was
Well, Heikowski.
That was early
didn't
on.
have
It was a
pair
very
of
early
headphones.
episode. It was like the first or second episode. It was a completely
It
reasonable
was
question
not.
to
No,
ask.
because it was Heikowski. That's like year 2
No,
at
no,
least.
no. That was
yeah,
a
'cause
very...
I wasn't here year 1, so it had to be year 2.
Right. So, and we all had our headphones on except for Heikowski. Patrick turns to Heikowski, who's sitting right next to him and says, "Can you hear us?"
It's a good moment.
That's a good moment.
It's a classic. It was totally planned.
Yep.
That was a totally inauthentic moment
Yeah. Yes. It's very stagey.
that I had planned.
Very stagey. Hey, welcome back to Even More Mashed Up. We are the podcast originating from the Misericordia University talking about all things pop culture. It is a podcast that wrecks the podcastosphere. I'm Alan.
I'm Patrick, and I'm not sure there's such a thing as a podcastosphere.
It is.
However-
it's what we exist upon.
We did a show recently that was a pocket full of movies.
Yes.
And I felt bad because all of the movies came from your pocket.
Yes.
So today, I thought we'd do a movie from my pocket,
Yes.
which is...
You literally brought your ticket stub for
Hey,
this?
it's Ralph Breaks the Internet, Wreck-It Ralph 2!
Wow,
Okay.
That was an intro, I guess.
That was really well planned. I like that you had it in your pocket.
I literally found it in my coat this morning. I'm like, oh, there's the opening.
So, but you, it's just funny that you didn't pull it out of your pocket. Or that
Ahead
you,
of time.
Like you could have acted all of this and just thrown the ticket stub away. Nobody can see you.
Yeah.
They didn't
not
see
the
you
same.
digging around in
Well,
your britches, you
I'm
know.
very method.
They can hear you. They can
very
hear you
method.
leaning away from the
I'm
microphone.
like Jared Leto's Joker.
Oh.
Or who else's method?
For a minute, I thought you were going to say you were very meth.
There's Franco, but I really don't want to be compared
no,
to Franco.
no, who's the
Marlon Brando. Wasn't he method?
Christian
no,
Bale?
No, There Will Be Blood actor.
Oh, yeah, and the My Left Foot guy.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes, Daniel Day-Lewis.
I'm like, that is
very
method.
Yeah.
I'm very method.
Yeah.
So I felt like I had to. So yeah, so we're talking Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Breaks the internet.
Ralph breaks the internet.
Now, I don't want to give away any trade secrets, but Patrick did literally no prep for today
Whoa.
except for watch the movie.
That's true. And I brought my
Hey,
ticket stub.
More prep than I did.
And I have been thinking about. I had a nice
By the way-
conversation about the movie with Amanda yesterday. So
Richard
I have
is
some
here.
ideas.
I am.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So, since I'm the only one that's got some notes, maybe I'll get started.
Yeah, sounds like a
And
good idea.
You can
I'm
can
just gonna
answer
roll
some
with
questions.
things.
So, let's just start with your general impression of the movie.
My general impression actually kind of shifted over the course of the film.
Yes.
In that, for a good chunk of the first part, I was a little bit bored. In that it felt kind of
Just
very
a little bit bored.
sequel-y.
It was a steaming pile.
And then the middle part, I got
wow.
a little
Yes.
concerned about some of the things they were doing.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of pleasantly surprised by the end and the thoughtfulness of the end.
Okay, there was one thing I liked at the end that I thought was thoughtful.
Okay.
Besides that, I thought this was the worst movie
Really?
that I have seen in a decade.
Really? I didn't think it was that bad.
Vicky
You
and I
watched Transformers
like
movies.
it. Oh, I would watch Bumblebee 100 consecutive times before
Really?
I would sit down and watch this again.
Wow, I did not realize your reaction was that strong.
When the film ended, Vicky and I looked at each other. And you're right. Like the first half of the movie,
It was a lot of setup.
and it's boring.
Yeah, it was
like
a little
it's just
slow. Like I was like, oh, this is feeling flat.
yeah, it's boring. Like it was to me. Vicky said she could have taken a nap. She said the
Yeah.
only reason she didn't was because I had taken her to the movie.
Yeah.
It was boring.
Yeah. Well, now you guys hadn't seen the first one, right?
Vicky did. I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Didn't seem to make any difference in our view.
I guess not. So
I will point out that reviewers have been quite positive about this film.
yeah, I mean,
I'm going to read you some fair or foul stuff.
Yeah, we'll
that's
talk
like,
about that. There's things that it does that I found really interesting, but I would say in retrospect, like
Yeah.
the setup to get to where they eventually go,
Yeah.
is a little bit drawn out. I would say
Because
And
this
there's-
movie, let's be honest, it sucked really hard.
I didn't hate it. I overall liked it, and I thought it did.
Ugh.
I thought it had some really interesting things at the end.
I thought it was like just a waste of $14.
Well, I went on
Wait.
$5.25.
You spent $14 for
Well,
it?
for two
people.
tickets.
Oh, I thought you meant per ticket.
Yeah,
No.
I
did you
paid
go?
I paid $5.25 for it on Tuesday.
In
so.
general, I thought the plotting was kind of weak. It kind of relies on Ralph just to screw things up, to move things along.
Well, he is Wreck-It Ralph. That
I
is
know, I
sort
get
of his
it.
job.
He breaks the video game. We'll talk more about Ralph in a minute.
Yeah.
I thought the first half of the movie was really boring.
Yeah.
Ralph is, I think, the least interesting cinematic character I have ever come across.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's
Name somebody
funny-
who's less interesting than
it's
Ralph.
funny because in the first one, he's probably the
Any
more.
of the female characters in the Transformers movies?
Can you name their character names?
That's a good point.
I can't.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Rich.
Damn it.
Boom.
Yeah,
Actually,
but
can you
there's
name Shia
still.
LaBeouf's character name.
Sam Witwicky.
I was going to say
Ooh.
we get to there's the Witwicky
Yeah, I was
collage.
saying, yeah.
and,
I was like, it's Witwicky, and it's like I can remember the Sam when I remember the Witwicky.
yeah. To me, watching Wreck-It Ralph or the Breaking the Internet thing was like watching Ready Player One, but kind of like dumbed down for kids.
I didn't think about that, but I could see that because the only thing I could think of during, particularly in the internet scene,
Yeah,
was Emoji Movie.
yeah. Aren't they? I did see Emoji Movie.
There's a lot. It had kind of the same idea of like the emojis going into like the apps on your phone, and everything was there, and it was like this big sort of.
So you're
city.
saying it's also plagiarized? It's boring and it's plagiarized. Feels like you just said it was plagiarized.
Not plagiarized, but working within a very similar milieu.
You know what? I cannot wait until your students listen to this podcast. And when you go in, you're like, I'm sorry, Richard, but you clearly plagiarized this.
Nuh-uh.
Richard will say, I was just working within a similar milieu.
Yes, I will have to say that just like the Emoji Movie, Wreck-It Ralph's version of the internet
Yeah.
has to be one of the most sanitized versions of the internet.
Oh, I have a question for you
Oh,
about
I could
that
imagine.
Man,
later.
when I saw the trailer and it said, "Oh, we're gonna dark web," you're doing what?
Yeah, no, trust me,
I was
the dark
like-
web is not.
The dark web was not that dark.
Yeah, it was very sanitized. I'm assuming they made a boatload on product placement.
Well,
They had to. They better have.
that gets to my point about Ready Player One. This was a movie that was really about two things as far as I could tell.
Wreck-It Ralph?
Yeah.
Okay.
Destroying, like just battering you with Easter eggs. Oh, did you see the billboard? Did you see the commercial? Did you see the stormtrooper? Did you see the,
Yeah.
And
And you hate Easter eggs.
You know how I feel about Easter eggs. So it was.
So the
it
movie was already at a deficit for you.
right.
Like
that,
even.
that it was just, it was so Easter eggy, it was insufferable.
Yeah.
And it becomes kind of like an hour and a half advertisement for mega corporation after mega corporation after mega corporation. And, oh, guess what? Surprise! Disney gets a lot of attention.
Yes, well. Yeah.
If I did that kind of thing on the podcast, I would be accused of self-promoting in a way that was
Do what kind of thing?
to talk about myself like Disney talks about itself in this movie. You would say that I was a spotlight-seeking self-promoter.
Would we
When
have
Disney
some
does
kind
it,
of
you're
money
like,
at Disney?
oh, like, what's the big deal? Like,
this
that's
point-
what Disney's supposed to do.
At this point, I have been to the will of my Disney overlords. They own everything I love, and thus I cannot critique them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's a fair point, which is why you're not
Like,
really.
once they got Marvel, it was game over.
That's why you're not
And
really
Star Wars, like, yeah.
not really jumping up and down on this.
No, I gotta say, I'm starting to wonder if you picked up on the stuff that I did, which kind of surprises me. Because I actually thought it ended up doing something really,
It does do one thing
Thoughtful.
really thoughtful. I agree.
which is,
Well, I'm going to say that for the good part
oh, okay.
because we're kind of doing.
Oh,
the
we're
bad
doing the bad.
part.
Okay, so we're doing the bad.
We're
it feels like it to
we're
me.
Yeah.
Well, see, what have we
slogging through the
covered
bad.
so far? Sucked hard, boring. Oh,
Too long of a setup.
yeah. Like the first half of the movie is making a series of funny memes to make money,
Yeah, that was.
most of which were not particularly funny.
No, I did not. I did not get. Well, and the whole, that and the whole Yes character that I didn't really care for.
It felt. Who played Yes?
Taraji P. Henson, which kind of surprised me.
Yeah, it felt like they wanted her in the movie.
Because I thought it was,
Because-
is it, I'm trying to remember, is it Tiffany Haddish? Doesn't sound right. I know it's Haddish.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it Tiffany?
I think-
I thought that she was the one playing that role, and then I saw the credits, like, oh, it's Taraji. I really like, Taraji P. Henson is an excellent actress.
Oh, agreed. But
Um,
the character, like many of the characters on this,
Yeah.
look, Sarah Silverman can do good work.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't like Sarah Silverman except for in this movie.
That's funny. I like her in general, and I thought her Vanellope was more than Riley's Ralph.
Well, Riley's Ralph is essentially Riley.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of his default character.
yeah.
Yeah. So I also felt like one of the things on the one hand, I guess You're probably going to point out that I'm a hypocrite, but one of the things that I had a problem with, somewhat of a problem with, was kind of the little bit of subplot with Fix-It Felix and Calhoun and their
I've got that on my list of negative
marriage
stuff.
and raising the kids, just because it felt like. I know I criticized Deadpool 2 for like shoehorning like its characters in and not really doing anything with them. And so the fact that I'm going to critique this film for bringing those characters in and not trying to do a lot with them may seem a wee bit hypocritical. Because I felt like you could lift them out of the movie entirely.
Yes.
And they don't really serve a purpose.
You could lift a lot of this movie out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't serve much of a purpose. Yeah, but the Fix-It Felix and Sergeant Tamora Jean Calhoun.
Yeah.
Ugh, just awful. But they do kind of adopt a family, and Vicky and I did see the next day.
Oh, Instant Family.
Instant Family with Hope. It makes Instant Family look like it should win every Oscar this year.
Just like the Calhoun Fix-It Felix
No.
plotline?
Ralph Breaks the Internet is so bad.
You are really down on this film.
I don't know why, but I found it.
You were down on like the funnies too.
I could see where the very
I said
long
good things about Calvin and Hobbes.
I could
said
see
horrible things
where
about Nancy.
I mean,
Okay, Nancy was the worst comic strip ever made.
Oh, Nancy. No, Kathy.
Kathy's bad, but Nancy's worse. Nancy
no.
and Sluggo?
No,
oh,
Kathy
come on.
No, Kathy is you know that's a whole other show. We really shouldn't go that.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
The comic strips. We're going to get down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. So anyway, you were saying.
Well, I think in New York, like I felt that the way it ended, like the final third of the movie, I felt kind of redeemed the long setup. I could see where
there was no
the
redemption
long
in
setup
this.
maybe have left it without redemption for you. And
Well,
Vicky.
again, I'll say something nice about the last part of the movie eventually. But right now, we're still focusing on the negative.
Yeah.
Which was almost everything else. There's actually a couple of things I liked in the movie.
Okay,
I will
that's
say.
good.
But like Ralph is totally unlikable. Like you can see why he's the bad guy in the video game.
Yeah.
Because he just destroys things just to destroy things. Right? There's literally nothing to this film if Ralph isn't a big jerk about his friendship with Vanellope.
Yeah. Well, and some of that was in the first movie.
So how'd you feel about the lightening of Princess Tiana's skin?
See, I don't.
Well, how'd you feel about that? Because you're not complaining about it. It's not on your list of negatives.
I've never, because she's in the Princess and the Frog one.
Yeah.
See, I never saw that,
So it's okay to lighten her skin because you haven't seen it?
Well, I just have no idea that her skin's lightened.
Yeah,
So,
it is.
Okay.
So
That's a problem.
opinion. Disney has apparently promised to undo the lightening of her skin.
It seems
In
an
like
odd
the
choice.
Blu-ray release.
I don't know where. I didn't read the article. I read the headline.
'Cause I mean, the little
I only
bit.
had a little bit of
Because
time
I
to
will say
prepare this week.
that from what I remember of seeing in the trailer,
Yeah.
I thought she appeared lighter in the trailer than she did in the actual film. So I wonder if they may have made adjustments already, but I don't know for sure.
Richard, could you pull up an image of her in the film?
Well, I mean, I can agree she's lighter in the trailer than she's in the film because I saw it as well.
So at least you paid attention. You seemed a little sandbagged by the whole thing.
Well, yeah, that's what you usually do.
It seems weird though that it happened
No, you
because
did no
Disney was
prep this
involved.
week, so
To be fair, I know I made it easier for you to sandbag me. Again, Merry Christmas. Here's your gift. So I did kind of enjoy the Disney princesses, though.
okay. Which we get to this to better parts of the film because the first half of the film is, I don't think I could watch it again.
Yeah, it was really well, and as much as I love Gal Gadot, the whole like the first part of the slaughter race storyline, with her and Vanellope, like just felt really flat to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although I really liked Shank.
I
Like
did
the things
Shank.
that I thought were pretty cool in the film, Shank was pretty damn awesome.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, it is Gal Gadot,
exactly.
so
I mean,
obviously,
that's the thing.
like she's going to
at
rock
this point,
that
I'm
role.
not sure there's anything she can do that's not awesome.
She seemed like a very empowered and yet
Yeah.
somewhat complex animated
To an
character.
extent, yeah.
More than you expected from her.
Yes,
when
particularly
you
when
first
she showed up.
meet her. So there's something nice I said about the film.
Yeah, but yeah, I just felt like some of that, like it did feel a little flat to me.
Yeah. The second half, in my notes, I said it did pick up a little bit. I like the Disney stuff, the princess stuff. Vicky was less impressed with it.
With the Disney stuff.
Yeah, she thought the princesses were still kind of bubble-headed in the end. I mean, they get to be the heroes at the end in
They
a
do.
way.
Yeah, in a way
but-
that is somewhat predictable.
And they do joke about it. But remember we talked on a previous podcast about how Fox and Friends or whatever were really upset about, like, these princesses under... You don't remember it at all, do you, Patrick? Do you
Keep going.
Do you just erase everything from your brain as soon as we do the show?
I
It's
didn't
like,
want to interrupt your
did
point.
the show, dump it.
Fox and Friends said what now?
I don't remember.
Listen, I got a lot going on. There's only so much brain space.
That your brain space is better used for other things right now.
Like Legos.
But they were really upset that the Disney princesses were sort of being twisted into something they weren't. That we should love the original princesses, not what... Because if you only watch the 8 minutes that the princesses are in the film, it might suggest that there's something really subversive going on here.
I don't know that I'd say terribly subversive.
Well, the Fox people thought so, as you will recall from
Yes,
several
of
weeks
course.
ago. The
Oh,
Fox
yeah.
people were convinced.
Indeed. And you remember the quote they said specifically, right?
Yeah, you remember the quote.
the salient details may have escaped me.
The salient details being the entire conversation.
That's not, no. I'm
knows
right
it
there with
happened.
you.
But when you watch this, it seemed like perhaps the Fox hosts were upset over really not very much to be upset.
Yeah, I
about.
don't. Yeah, I mean, I didn't.
Hard to comprehend.
They're not. Yes, they're not really. They're not really transformed in this.
No,
I
no.
would
I
say.
mean, they're a little bit,
Right. There's
moved beyond their kind of stereotypical
and there's
depiction.
jokes about it.
Yeah.
That kind of suggest they're aware of
I
the
do
way
like
in
all
which
of
they have.
their cool new casual outfits. I do kind of enjoy those.
Sure, because the best way to entertain with women in film is to think about looks and fashion.
Well,
I hear what you're saying.
I like the Easter
That you-
egginess of
that
it. Like
they-
all their shirts were sort of references to their movies.
Does that count as an Easter egg?
It's not a
Why not?
Because
subtle one.
because it felt like
No, normally it would be in this movie. No. Because
So
of some
so
of the
you
other
like
Easter
you
eggs.
like the women's fashion is what you're saying.
I just like their outfits. Yeah,
I like how you
They
think
seemed
that's a
very comfortable.
contradiction.
they seemed very comfortable,
So you like the comfort.
and I am all about women's comfort.
I don't know. Yeah. I think we
We need to
should
get out of this hole.
I think we should move somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought they were funny.
Yeah.
I thought they kind of got to be like superheroes almost.
Oh, and then rescuing Ralph.
Yeah, but you realize how irredeemable Ariel is.
Yeah, you can't. There's not a lot that you can do with her.
Yeah.
Like she's.
You would
That's
do-
actually a matter of. That's actually something we should probably talk about at some point. Like, who is the most problematic Disney princess?
Oh my God, we should definitely put together a
Like that
even
would be-
more
Like
mashed up list from
like a
most offensive
No, a psyche valve of like
To least
to
offensive.
least offensive. That
Yeah.
you should put that in your notes for a future show.
I will once I'm done timing this show.
You can,
You won't forget.
No, do I
Right.
forget things?
Rich, could you
not, that
write
he
this
can,
down?
not that he can remember, he doesn't forget things.
All right, Rich, just write this
No,
down.
this is why I write things down so
Did
that
you
I
want
remember
the
them.
picture of Princess Tiana still?
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm just curious. Like, is she still lighter in the? I never
Well,
saw
here's
this.
The film,
Okay. Yes.
like,
I'm sure this is fascinating for our listeners.
Yes.
well, I mean, I don't know how to translate this into.
Now find her. Now find her in Wreck-It Ralph real quickly, and we'll make the comparison. But that's a great idea. Like
Yeah.
rating them from most offensive to least offensive.
Yeah.
But like it turns out, Ariel seems totally irredeemable.
Yeah, well, she's just. I mean, her. You did. What was it? There was the.
Gives up her voice to.
Yeah, well, and there was the news about the acapella band.
that Vicky sent.
Yeah,
to
that's
us.
right. Vicky sent that. Yeah,
Yeah, the Tiger Tones,
that's
right?
what they.
at
That's right.
Princeton.
Was it Auburn?
That's
No,
Princeton, I think.
Princeton,
Oh, it's
okay.
definitely Auburn doesn't
That's right.
do.
I was just thinking
acapella
when
like
you
Ivy
said
League.
Tigers, I was
Yeah.
thinking.
I don't know if you get closer. It's hard to tell because it almost feels like it's part of the art style, like the way
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
lighting stuff.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Like it does look
But-
lighter.
Well, and
but
I also haven't seen Princess of the Frog, so I don't know how Tiana appeared in her
Right.
actual film.
Right,
Yeah.
but we were talking about something else. What were we talking?
Tiger Tones.
Tiger Tones.
Oh, but I'm the one that forgets stuff.
Yeah. Well,
What was
for
I
me,
talking
it's-
about 10 seconds ago?
Short-term memory is my problem. Everything else is yours.
You mean long-term memory?
And medium. And short to
No,
medium, and
good with
medium
the-
to
I'm
long.
good with the medium.
And really long.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
lot going
what
on.
were we talking about? Oh, the Tiger Tones.
Tiger Tones.
They would apparently sing "Kiss the Girl," and then actually bring two strangers up from the audience
And make them kiss.
Always a man and a woman, and
Yeah.
make them kiss.
Yeah.
Which number was weird. Like, how do you let the Tiger Tones boss you around? You're gonna kiss her. Like, really? Like,
it's like that's you at that point where plants and animals are going to tell you what to do with your life now.
yeah, exactly. It's like they're
Plants and animals. They are people.
they're people.
Wait, what's...
They're not.
It's an
tiger.
acapella band called the Tiger
Oh
Tones.
no, I'm sorry. I'm singing straight the film.
Oh, right. So that like
in the actual film,
right. You shouldn't have a lobster tell you how to
yeah.
pursue your romantic life.
Right.
Well,
although it couldn't hurt, probably some of us.
That might be one of the more mild offenses of Little Mermaid.
Right. But the idea that you would do this song and then, which is like a little problematic, you know, because I guess Ariel wants to be kissed.
Yes.
But she can't really say she wants to be kissed.
No.
Because she's given up her voice for her man.
Correct.
I think she's number one.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, she's...
Can we just agree that she's going to be number one?
I'd have to do some digging, but I have a hard time...
Yeah. I mean, others bring racial problems on top of gender problems, and so...
Yeah.
I mean...
Is there a princess in Song of the South? Because that might compete with Ariel.
I don't think so.
Okay, then I think,
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, but, I mean, Pocahontas brings a different kind of bad.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Pocahontas.
Snow White isn't...
You've never seen Pocahontas?
No.
Wow. Snow White?
I was thinking, because she's unconscious when she gets kissed.
Yeah. That was Kristen Bell made that point. Like, she was talking about the Snow White and talking about, like, not letting her kids watch it or explaining to her kids that it wasn't right for Snow White to be kissed without consent.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, you just wait until Fox hears this show.
Yes.
Well, then she's never going to wake up, is she?
No.
You'd rather a woman be comatose her entire life than get an innocent kiss from Prince Charming.
I'm pretty sure Fox is okay with a woman being comatose her entire life.
Wow.
Too dark?
Or not getting consent before sexually assaulting
women.
women.
I really don't know what their complaint is. Like, it feels like that's a win-win for them.
I have a feeling they might be there might be enough hypocrisy built into them.
You think?
They won't see it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But they're so fair and balanced.
But we're very off.
We are. This is what happens when I don't.
When you don't come prepped, like
it's a little more freestyle.
So, but the princesses were a better part of the film.
Yeah, they were. I mean, I mean, the way they touted it up in the commercial, I was kind of the trailer, I was kind of expecting a little bit more.
Right. Fox talked about like when Cinderella breaks her slipper, her glass slipper. It's like, oh, and like, really?
Yeah.
You know, like it all of it felt like way too much concern over something that wasn't really.
Yeah, it was fairly benign.
It was kind of goofy and meant to sell princesses.
Oh yeah,
because for your princess dolls, they're going to come out with all that loungewear that you like so much.
Oh, they'd be idiots if they don't.
Right. So Vicky and I both kind of liked Knowsmore.
Oh, okay.
The search engine guy.
He was cute.
Yeah, although like the joke about completing sentences or thoughts.
Yeah.
Funny the first time.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the
things
I
8th
find
or 10th or 12th or 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, given how long I get those there were a couple problems for me in that. Number one, given the very long setup of the film, him being so crucial to the outcome, felt a little bit random.
Yeah.
And then, as I recall, they are in Knowsmore's little place.
Yes.
Surrounded by sort of clone Ralphs.
And Ralph comes in the door.
Ralph comes in and they figure out their plan, and they have to get out. And I think we jump to them in, like, Yes's car. And I'm like, how did they get out?
All they got to do is type it, and then the car just shows up, right?
I don't think it works that way. They get sent to...
Oh, the internet has rules now.
Well, according to Ralph Breaks the Internet.
But whenever someone does a search for Knowsmore and finds what they want, like the little car appears around them and they drive off.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they're surrounded by a giant army of, like, Ralphs. Like, I'm like, how did they, like... And they're holding back the one door.
They're on the internet.
I don't know. So that was one of the things I was like, how did they get... Like, I felt like there was a transition kind of needed there.
That's your problem.
That was one of my...
That's your problem with the film.
That was one of my problems with it.
Not just, like, the painstakingly dull nature of it.
No, because I felt like it redeemed itself in the end.
So here's the one thing I really liked about the film.
Okay.
I liked that Vanellope and Ralph end up separated from each other.
Wow.
That's not what you were going for?
No, that's not what I expected you to like.
Well, to me...
I mean, that's what I saw happening with the trailer.
Well, I didn't see the trailer because I didn't pay any attention to it. But movies like this always create, don't they, contrived reasons for Ralph and Vanellope to always be together at the end. And that Vanellope gets to kind of grow up and like be her own person and that Ralph has to come to grips with that. I thought was actually... Of all the stuff the movie's trying to teach, right? You know, about the internet can be fun, but it can also be mean.
Well, but see, I would take what the movie's trying to say a little bit further.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that really struck me in the end is the way in which Ralph, particularly when he feels betrayed by Vanellope and all that.
Because he's a big baby.
Well, yeah, but he becomes an example of the kind of toxic masculinity that we see on the internet all the time.
Yeah.
He completely tries to gaslight Vanellope.
Yeah.
And what I find interesting is that it's actually his insecurity that causes more damage to the internet than hers. Because one of the things I was really troubled, the part that I was troubled with in the middle, because this was not in the first film as I recall, was the way in which that Vanellope's glitch got troped as anxiety in the film.
Yeah.
And I was like that. I like it, particularly when they started really emphasizing that point. I was like, oh, I don't like where this is going. Like, because there were moments where I was like, okay, so is this going to be about her like channeling and overcoming her anxiety and her disability, and thus she's kind of this idea of the super crypt that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
You know, when the worm showed up, and I'm like, oh, is it going to take her?
The worm, you mean the virus?
The virus, yeah. The insecurity and sort of cause all the problems. Like, I don't like the direction this is going. But what I found really interesting, and so I thought kind of Vanellope isolated on her own, I was worried was going to be really problematic in terms of insecurity and anxiety. But what I found really interesting was the way in which that she worked in contrast to Ralph's insecurity. Yeah. Because even when they're scanned by the virus, like it showed her as like 30% insecure.
Right.
He's 100%.
Yeah.
And the way in which the movie all of a sudden became a comment about the kind of toxic masculinity, the kind of doxing and gaslighting that you see men doing on the internet.
Like when he gets corrupted, he becomes King Kong.
Yeah.
Like this massive, utterly destructive kind of creature. Mm-hmm. Unthinking. Yeah, I really like that idea. Like I can see that, and I think that's worth talking about. But I think
that's what redeemed the film for me, because I really was not expecting that.
To me, okay,
when it happened.
I will grant that's a good message. I will not accept that redeems the film.
Fair enough.
If they're trying to make a comment about toxic masculinity, they've done so, but not in a way that I think makes the film. Like in a way, like you need to kind of develop that theme maybe more broadly through the film.
Well, and I wonder, part of it is, and this is obviously not going to happen for you.
Yeah.
Part of me wonders in terms of, because the way that really comes up at the end of the film, made me wonder like how well is that traced from the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
You know, because you kind of see the neediness of Ralph,
right,
to the point where he on the one hand he builds the track for Vanellope.
Yeah.
The new track in her game, which seems nice, but then you kind of realize at the end of the film that it's also kind of to keep her with him.
Right.
And so I think there's ways that if you see the movie a second time, I think you can see some of that set up earlier. But I'll agree that I don't know, because I was not expecting it when it actually happened.
Yeah.
Like, as I was watching the film and getting to, like, the big climax and everything, I'm like, did this just become a film about, like, toxic internet male fans of stuff? And I'm like, I think it just did. Particularly the moment where, and the other thing that I liked is, particularly in terms of the contrast between her and Ralph, is, you know, her anxiety does cause problems within the slaughter race game.
Right.
But they're clearly containable and dealt with, and like, it's not anything terribly destructive. His threatens to destroy the whole internet.
And God forbid we live without the internet. Because as we learned, sure, people can be mean on it, but on the upside, you can buy lots of stuff on it.
Yes. If you have $27,000. I'm also not sure their sense of internet commerce quite works the way that it does. Yeah. But that was what redeemed it.
Just like that.
That's what redeemed it for me in the end, is that it came to, for me, a really interesting comment that I wasn't really expecting from this film.
Fair enough. There should be no expectations
about
for this film whatsoever.
Kind of, and again, being much more tied into sort of current discussions of particularly masculinity and toxicity on the internet. Like that, I was like, it ended in a really, I think, interesting place.
Yeah.
You know, I thought the scene where he's confronting her and after he's unleashed the virus and she's like, you did what? And he's like, well, you made me do it. I'm like, wow, he could not be trying to gaslight her more if he tried.
Well, yeah, like that's just an abusive relationship, really.
And so that's one of the things I really
But once you start thinking about Ralph and Vanellope as an abusive relationship, it changes.
But that's one of the reasons why I agree that it is good that they end up separate on their own, because Vanellope needs to be able to do her own thing, and Ralph has some
issues,
work to do on himself as well, that I think he's moving toward. Now, I don't know that
think he's a real person. I think he's moving towards it.
The solution. I mean, again, Ralph basically solves the problem by talking to himself or himselves, which I'm not sure quite how that works in the metaphor of toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of the good things is that I'm glad they kind of go off on their own in the sense that Vanellope does get to have her own space and her own life.
But to me, I think it's because my son just left for college.
Yeah.
Right? Because in life, you have relationships that don't last forever. You know,
and
you can really
don't stay the same.
You can really love somebody, but it doesn't mean they're going to live in your house forever.
Right.
Nor should they. Right. It would be incredibly stunting for Vanellope to stay.
Right. Well, at some point, it starts to become a little Silence of the Lambs-y, potentially.
I suppose so. But I kind of like that as a parent who just saw a kid go off to college. Like this idea that that's what you do in life, and you find other ways to stay in touch and make connections.
Well, and the idea that Vanellope, I really, because that's the other thing is Vanellope was, as I recall, not as much of a main character in the first film.
I don't know.
You know, she was a little bit. I mean, she was important to the film, but it was more about Ralph and I think Felix and others, and even Calhoun. I mean, the revelation of her being a princess and things like that sort of comes out at the end.
Right.
But I kind of liked the way that this film really did seem to take Vanellope kind of a step further.
Yeah. I think that's fair, but it was still just a terribly made film. There might have been some messaging in there. Toxic masculinity, evolving relationships that were good.
Yeah.
But in the end, it was still just a crap fest of a film.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that bad. Like, the end for me, like,
What movie have you seen recently that was worse?
That was worse?
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to like this answer.
Okay, besides Transformers.
I'm not saying Transformers.
Okay, what?
Daddy's Home 2.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Or was it Daddy's Home 2 or Daddy's Home 1 that I watched at your house? It was Daddy's Home 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Daddy's Home 2.
That's ridiculous. That just totally
So this wasn't Ready Player One then, in your opinion?
I hated Ready Player One.
I did not care for Ready Player One either.
Yeah.
But I'm saying,
I can see, I particularly in its depiction of the internet, like it does have a lot of that. And
speaking of which, I've got questions for you.
Like its depiction of the internet
questions of the internet
felt a little blah to me, and not really.
Yes. So, questions for you.
Okay.
Am I really supposed to believe that Ralph and Vanellope traveled all across the internet, front to back, side to side, and found no porn whatsoever?
Yeah, that's why I said it was the most sanitized internet.
Yeah.
No, that's what the
it was a very Disney internet.
Yes.
The Disney.
It had the child safe search.
I was very upset. I was very upset when Vanellope is trying to hide from the stormtroopers.
Yes.
And there's clearly a door with the giant Avengers A on it.
Yeah.
That she does not go to.
Yeah.
I'm I want to see what's behind that.
That was my next question. Were you excited to see the stormtroopers?
Nah.
Yeah. Iron Man.
Also, C-3PO walked weird.
Avengers door. And why is he a butler to the princesses?
Yeah, it was just weird.
I mean, I guess they're all part of the Disney family now.
Yeah, they are.
So
you're part
of the Disney family. Now you work for us.
But it was
But didn't the most recent Star Wars film show that owning a droid was like owning a slave? So the princesses are essentially enslaving C-3PO.
Droid
rights. Oh, you're not for droid rights?
No, I'm saying that they are.
So you want to enslave droids. I just want to be clear.
Can I make my point?
I wish you would.
Can I make my point?
I'd like you to, but it doesn't.
Point?
Is it going to have to do with slavery?
Yes.
Okay.
In the sense that I would say C-3PO and the princesses are both slaves to the Disney Corporation.
Yeah, but one is a double slave then.
Well,
so
in actual slave times, there were distinctions between slaves.
Right.
So,
I don't know
Disney's just following in that pattern.
So you're saying the princesses are like slaves who are overseers in the field, and C-3PO is at the bottom of the hierarchy.
But he's the one telling them when they have to go on stage. So doesn't that kind of make him the overseer?
No, he's like a butler. He's not their boss.
He's the one that says 5 minutes, get in your dresses.
Do you think C-3PO makes those decisions?
Yeah, but
but he's the one telling them.
Because the slave master told him to.
Right, they're beneath. Right, he's the overseer beneath the slave master, and the princesses are below him. I mean, I'm not saying there's a big gap between him and the princesses.
In a show, the production assistant does that, and he's not above the talent.
What?
In an actual show, the production assistant is the one who tells them when to go on stage.
Oh, geez. So you're saying Richard is C-3PO and we're the princesses. You want to change your answer now?
No, I'd rather be one of the princesses than C-3PO.
They get comfy clothing.
I mean more about the morality of it. But anyway, if you're okay with droid slavery,
I'm not fine with droid slavery. I'm just saying that I don't see a C-3PO as a particularly empowered
What's that?
figure.
Was that a thing in the last Star Wars?
Yeah.
In the Han Solo.
The Hans, whatever.
Oh, I don't count that.
So the guy that does the entire extended universe has decided this one film's out.
He's still very bitter. Well, no,
It's
that's
like,
because he's bitter about the Star Wars extended universe being replaced
Is that my Han
by-
Solo?
Yeah, not my Han Solo.
right.
Not my Solo.
Well, I knew you were doing no research, so I brought numbers.
I did a little research.
What?
Brought the ticket stub and you
I watched
the movie.
film.
Yeah.
And I thought about toxic masculinity,
So,
which I'm really surprised you didn't have more to say.
what do you think the Rotten Tomatoes numbers are?
Oh, on this?
No, on
On Solo.
yeah, on Richard's running the board today.
I don't want to hear those numbers.
Do they have negatives?
That's awesome. What do you think Rotten Tomatoes was on Wreck-It Ralph?
Wreck-It Ralph?
The first one, not the
I'm
second
going to
one.
say like 87.
For critics or
Oh,
audiences?
sorry, I just meant overall.
No, I didn't get an overall. I got critics and I got audiences.
75-90.
Okay, so Rich says
Critics and people.
right. We
The
always
audience.
do critics first.
Yeah.
I'm going to say
Patrick is going to say
critics 85,
yeah.
audiences 92.
Wow. This is really interesting because you guys are. It's almost a tie. No, Patrick's a little bit closer overall, but you're both considerably off. Critics, 88.
What did I say?
You said 85.
Okay.
Rich said 75.
Okay.
Yeah.
So critics really like the film.
I was going to say 87.
The audience score,
Yeah.
68.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. Like given all the positive reviews I read,
That's
when
a
I
surprise.
saw the audience score,
Huh.
I was really surprised.
That is
But
a
I think
surprising
the
audience
audience is
Yeah, they're probably picking up on some of the things we've talked about.
yeah. Like the critics, I think, liked the first one so much that maybe they were predisposed to see the second one.
I don't know,
also
not
maybe
having
they
read
got-
any of the critics, I didn't know actual work.
Yeah. You don't need to mumble that. That's been made clear.
They might. That's why I mumbled it. I don't want to be repeating it.
Yeah, but we already established.
Also, the microphone picks up anything you say.
That's a smart.
I
thing
wonder
you've
if
said
the
so far.
critics are similar to me in the sense that the way the film ends, they're responding to that more. In
The
terms
message,
of
you mean?
the comment on toxic masculinity, that like they might
Well-
like that might redeem it for. Whereas audience, particularly, I could see little kids getting really restless for the first.
Yeah. Or adults
chunk.
getting really restless.
So
Since you've brought up the critics, I brought some fair or foul.
All
Let's
right.
see if they do like it because of the toxic masculinity redeeming it.
okay,
All right, here's Sandy Chen
okay,
from a source that I cut out when I cut and pasted, so I don't know.
wow, well done.
So, Sandy Chen, quote, Disney's charming, insightful sequel shines a light on the wonders and horrors of the internet. From the camaraderie of sharing silly viral videos to the vicious nature of social media comments. Fair?
I don't think any part of that's
foul.
correct.
Well, no, the problem is, I mean, it's literally stuff that goes on in the film, so it's
Well, it
it's-
does show silly viral videos.
and it does show
If silly
the
means stupid.
mean comments.
And it does show mean comments.
But
But really, the solution to that is just don't read the comments, kids.
yeah, but we all read the comments.
It seems to be avoiding the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
But
you
the
can
first
tag
part,
people in comments,
charming, insightful.
I mean, I think it is insightful by the end, but I don't think she's picking up on the same insight that I did.
Would you say it's charming? So you're smarter than Sandy Chen, is what you're saying.
No. I like what she's talking about. I just,
Yeah.
No, we
I
don't
thought
know.
for me, I thought that the whole internet toxic masculinity thing was fairly clear,
All right. How about this next one?
but you didn't seem to pick up on it.
I mean,
So-
not in labeling it toxic masculinity, like his insecurity. I talked about him being a big dick,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
in that
Did I
sense,
say that? Being a big jerk.
right?
Like I talked about that, I didn't label it that way. Like it's there.
Yeah.
But to me, like there's so many films where they turn people into jerks just to move the plot forward that message could get lost along the way.
Okay.
Because it's kind of a trope.
Well, but he is kind of a jerk to begin with.
That's true.
The villain.
And
So
that
they
kind
didn't
but
really
that could guise it as well.
Yeah.
Different ways in which Ralph has a guise that hides the toxic masculinity.
Yeah. Well, but I think that's something that the end of the film, I think, kind of exposes the way in which that for a film and a half, we've kind of thought of Ralph as the nice guy.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, he's not. He represents a lot of what's really bad out there in terms of.
Yeah, but there's also this easy redemption for him too.
Yeah, I mean, I do
And
think the
so,
redemption might be a little too easy. It's not a perfect film by any means.
Right, because it's sucked.
But again, I was particularly the way the film began and went on and was kind of weak in the beginning. I was really surprised at the effectiveness that it did achieve.
Ugh. All right, let's try another one. This one's from the Tribune News Service, if you care to know.
Any particular individual there?
Katie Walsh.
Okay, good.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible to see how the filmmakers easily and boldly slip concepts right from the therapist's office into the wild rumpus through the internet.
Did she go on to identify what concepts?
No, I didn't read any further. I only had a little bit of time. I don't read full reviews for this.
How long was the review?
I pulled it from Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, it would be helpful to know, like, what I.
Well, it should be obvious.
I'm going to say foul because I have no idea.
It's incredible to see how the filmmakers easily and boldly, dude. It's incredibly bold in the way in which they slipped concepts from the therapist's office into the wild rumpus.
I guess they're talking about like her anxiety and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I mean, I guess you could argue they do slip in concepts. They may not explore them.
Yeah, I'm gonna say foul on that one because I don't see that without some kind of greater context for that quote.
So right now I've given you two quotes. They've both been foul, even though they were positive reviews of the film.
Yeah,
seems like you're coming to my side of it.
No, I mean,
let's try this one.
Okay.
Rob Carnival.
Okay.
From Indie London.
Okay.
It's from London and it's indie, so it's got to be smart.
They're not going to like this film.
4 out of 5 is what he gave it.
Yeah, see.
Ralph Breaks the Internet still rates as a triumphant return for a beloved set of characters that will charm, exhilarate, and wildly entertain on its own terms.
They keep saying charming.
Yeah.
Are they just like, is it that 8 minutes of princesses?
Was the film charming?
That is not the word I would
I
use
would
to
not
describe
apply charming to it. And yet, Rich has pointed out that 2 people have.
Yeah. No, he's right.
And it's like...
Whoa. Huh? What'd you say?
Richard's right.
Whoa.
There have been 2 references. Keep in mind, I'm recognizing Richard's ability to count to 2.
Wow.
Well, we know he can count down from 3. So one would assume he could get to 3, counting
because he
up.
generally says like 3, 2.
Oh, that's right.
So again, it's only 2 actual numbers. See, again, he stopped at 1 again.
Yes.
That was a very good visual joke.
Let me give you.
Why I like making those.
Well, number one, I don't know that I would say that these are necessarily beloved characters.
Agreed.
Do
they charm?
I think kind of took everyone by surprise that it was.
Yeah. Do they charm, exhilarate, and wildly entertain?
I'm not sure those
wildly entertain.
Exhilarating and wild are not words.
That's
I would
one heck
use.
of a
And
claim.
you already said charmed you wouldn't use, so that feels pretty clearly foul. All right, one more positive one.
Okay.
This one's from Ross Miller.
Okay.
From
Good old Ross Miller.
From The National.
All right.
In Scotland.
Wow, you went international.
I did. Manages to integrate the internet's simultaneous vastness and intricacy.
No.
In a way that's both inventive in pushing the narrative forward.
Nope.
And just fun to behold for its own sake.
No.
Did you watch a different movie?
All of these critics, I disagree with almost.
Yeah, the depiction of the internet was the depiction of the internet was fairly blah.
Yeah, in the way it pushed the narrative forward.
Well, what was the first part?
Just
something about
fun
like
to
the
behold.
depiction of the internet,
vastness and intricacy.
Yeah, the intricacy. Yeah, because it's
wasn't
eBay
vast or
and
very
Amazon and Twitter and Snapchat.
I think you mean eBoy.
Yeah, like like it was
just
just
the rights to eBay.
That's the other thing that I found really weird. Like they have eBay and they have like Amazon and all of these things, but like the meme video hosting service they go to is like BuzzTube, and I'm like, you couldn't use YouTube?
Apparently not. Apparently some companies caved and others didn't.
I'm like, you've got everything else here. But yeah, it was a very generic
Generic is a good way to describe the
version
film.
of the internet.
But the film in general, to me, was a very generic kids' film.
Yeah, particularly for a good first half.
Yeah,
of
maybe
it.
3/4 before you really get to.
It was there was a bit of because again, like I said, I was fairly nonplussed by it for a good chunk. I was like, ugh.
But that the two separate at the end was stunning to me.
Yeah.
Like, I did not see that coming because I could not imagine a world in which the Disney Corporation didn't keep them together.
Yeah.
So that I like.
Well, you know, Disney sometimes does. I mean, like, you know, they let everybody die in Rogue One. They let.
Half of the heroes die in the most recent Avengers film.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Which apparently the trailers for the next one's supposed to possibly drop today.
So I have heard, amongst some other trailers, but maybe that'll be for the next show.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
I did find one negative review on Rotten Tomatoes.
All right. Despite the 68% from fans?
Well,
or did you just look at pros?
I just looked at the pros.
Okay.
What are fans going to teach me? That's just reading negative comments on the internet, and Vanellope taught me not to do that.
Well, not to read negative comments about yourself.
Oh, I can read about others?
Oh, yeah, that's the best part.
All right.
That's the best part of the internet.
All right, this came from Barry Hertz at Globe and Mail.
Okay.
He writes, Ralph Breaks the Internet is less a film, more a commercial. Game over, everyone. That's all I got for you.
Yeah,
Can I give you any more context? No, just game over.
Yeah. I mean, again, particularly the depiction of the internet is a very kind of corporate commercial.
It's very commercial.
Version of it.
Under the guise of entertainment, and I think that's what I most dislike about the film, is that it's so...
And again, in that I can see the similarities to something like Ready Player One. It's probably not good that, you know, the two movies that come to my most immediate mind in relationship to Wreck-It Ralph 2 are Ready Player One and the Emoji Movie, which are in some ways two of the movies I have least enjoyed in the recent past. And like there's no, you know, the depiction of the internet, like there's no satire. It's like, oh, hey, there's Amazon.
Right.
Bunch of boxes.
Well, but like that's
jokes.
Yeah.
Like
there weren't even jokes. Like there were
that's the thing. Like it was so obviously just product placement.
Yeah, it was very
without the sophistication of a Michael Bay Transformers film.
There's no sophistication.
Let the silence reign.
In Michael Bay. Okay, there is no sophistication in a Michael Bay Transformers film. There is less in his product placement,
which makes it very sophisticated.
No.
So did
Being
you
really bad at something doesn't make it really good.
It's not how less works.
I think it does. Eventually, you get to the far end of the spectrum, and it loops back to the other.
No, it's not a loop.
It's a circle.
No,
it's never a
trust me.
They're always
if
a
there's
circle.
one thing that the Transformer movies are,
Yeah.
they are a giant bottomless abyss that just keeps going down.
Of goodness.
Unless the Bumblebee movie is halfway decent, which it might be.
And it
No.
what? The Bumblebee movie makes me nervous.
Like
I actually
Mr. Transformers here does not
I'm
want to see
intrigued by
it.
it, but it's probably because
I know.
It's going to be terrible.
This is the movie that I most fear. Like I've never had this feeling for a Transformers film.
It is not going to be good.
I'm going to go
But
see
it's
it.
got the Transformers that I remember.
What do you mean?
They look like the Transformers I remember.
And that's why we get Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah.
Because you just want comfort and familiarity when you go to the theater.
It's not true.
You don't want to be challenged.
Dude, I saw what
That thing.
What was the movie we saw with the horse people?
Sorry to bother you?
That's it.
The horse people.
Spoilers.
Yes, spoilers. If you have not seen Sorry to Bother You,
should.
you
That
absolutely
movie-
must go see
We
that
really
movie.
should have done a show on that.
We should have.
That movie was brilliant.
Yeah, I will teach that in the future.
Yeah, well, we talked about teaching like in conjunction with Day Without a Mexican and kind of looking at like the polls of like here's what we thought in 2006 and here's what we think today.
Yeah. Well, although I would argue that the more recent film does not capture a broad American thinking.
Well, man.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it's a much more radical critique.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing. Day Without a Mexican kind of purported to radicalism, but ultimately does not have it.
Right. Yes.
Sorry to Bother You has it.
Yeah. Well, you'll never look back on that and be like, "Well, they were pulling punches," or "Boy, that feels a little."
That is. It is, as I think I said at the time, it is the most scathing, but also most accurate indictment of kind of where we are as a culture.
Yeah. It is depressing.
In that way, it's a lot like Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Yes. So we're almost out of time, but a quick question: did you stay for the post-credit scenes?
I did.
I did not. I did not know there were any.
There's two.
I know. Vicky was like out of her seat before.
Yeah.
I read what they are.
Funny story.
So I know what they are.
So everybody else in the theater left but me.
Yeah.
Does that happen a lot?
More often than I'd like.
Where's the humor?
Because as I'm sitting there waiting for the second post-credits scenes, the lights come on, the cleaning crew comes in, and they're starting to clean. And then, like, I'm just watching the film, and then the lights go out again, and I look around, and the cleaning crew has gone away because I think they saw me. They were like, "Oh, I guess someone is still."
There's some sad old dude.
So, because literally,
who really needs to see the second post.
Literally after the last one, I left after the last credit scene, and they're all standing right by the door, and they're like, "Have a good evening, sir." I'm like, "Yeah,
we were about to call security."
It's a good moment.
So that's one of your moments where, like, going to a PG film.
Yes, was not
as a single person. It gets a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, there were enough people in the theater that I didn't feel particularly creepy. Yeah. Except for at that moment, because they turned the lights on. I'm like, still here, people.
Maybe they knew you were there. They just wanted to make sure.
I don't think they did.
Have anybody.
Maybe they have a job to do, and they didn't want
because
to wait for
they did.
one guy.
Like they turned the lights off, and then they had all left, and were just waiting, like in the area you walk in. I'm like, I think they saw me. I think they're like, oh, geez, someone's still here.
Yeah. And it was you.
And it was me.
That is awesome.
And then I'm looking around because there were some fairly loud people in the back behind me.
Yeah.
That I thought might still stick around, but I was like, oh no, it's just me.
Yeah. So, did I miss anything? Like,
no.
One was like a reference to the trailer.
Yes.
Apparently.
Well, it wasn't. Well, because
the girl with the video game.
Yeah. Well, because they have a little. Well, it starts with a little girl who I guess is like, they're coming back. She's in the car with her mom.
Yeah.
Having come back from a movie, and the mom's like, "Oh, did you like the movie?" And she's like, "Yeah, but there was a scene in the trailer that wasn't in the movie. I hate when they do that."
Yeah.
And then, of course, they show the scene that was in the Wreck-It Ralph trailer.
Right. Somebody liked it on the internet.
Movie.
Said it was very meta.
I'm not sure how meta it was.
I mean, it's kind of cute, that they did the reference.
I guess so. And the second one, like, made you think you were looking at a sneak peek of Frozen 2?
Yeah, well, basically it says, and now a sneak preview of Frozen 2.
So it does make you feel like you're seeing a sneak peek of.
Yeah, but I had that spoiled for me, so I knew it was coming. And then it's Wreck-It Ralph singing Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. Yeah. You get Rick rolled.
You get Rick rolled. My favorite moment from the last campaign is when Melania Trump Rick rolled us. In her convention speech.
I do have to say.
Yeah.
I freaking love that song.
You like that song?
I'm never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down.
Is a terrible song.
Like, that's the joke, is it's bad.
Right, the whole joke
when you
of it.
play it, everyone's unhappy.
It's so 80s.